Dear colleagues, my name is Sevastopolsky and I'm going to present the work called TRANSPR, Transparency Array Accumulating Neural 3D Scene Point Renderer. Let's imagine the following problem. Let's say we have a real-world scene, which can consist of a single object or many objects. We have a set of photographs of this scene, taken by a camera moving along some trajectory, covering the whole object, and the point cloud representing this scene. The task is to predict how this scene would look from a novel, previously unseen viewpoint. This viewpoint can either be between original camera positions or significantly far away from them. Today, this problem is most often addressed by predictive methods based on deep neural networks. Among state-of-the-art ones, there exist methods which only require a set of images of a scene to infer new views. For instance, neural volumes requires a set of images and accurate camera poses, and is based on voxel-based representation with warping. NeRF encodes the scene by implicit functions, and similarly, local light field fusion uses a light field and puts a special emphasis on the sampling rate of camera positions. While in many situations each of the renderers yields very high photorealism, cases exist when each of them is not quite suitable. For instance, NeRF and neural volumes can have scalability issues and artifacts, and the latter highly depends on the accuracy of the camera poses. Other methods described on the slide require both images of the scene and some kind of its geometric proxy, such as triangular mesh, as needed for deferred neural rendering, or a point cloud needed for neural point-based graphics. In this work we present TRANSPR, a neural renderer that extends neural point-based graphics, or NPBG, by an ability to render transparent objects and compositions with opacity. Just as NPBG, it requires images in the point cloud of a scene, which can be reconstructed from images using structure from motion software. Our neural pipeline is trained to predict each of the views by a point cloud. At the inference time, a new viewpoint is passed on to TRANSPR, which reconstructs a photorealistic picture of a scene from this novel camera position. The main difference introduced in TRANSPR lies in the composition of the point descriptors and in the advanced rasterization procedure. Let us describe the method in more detail. Say we have a point cloud described in the scene and a sample camera C parameterized by intrinsic and extrinsic parameters. By perceiving the cloud, the camera will form an image of size h by w pixels. Now let's consider a set of rays coming out of the camera, crossing each pixel of the image canvas. Say we have a sample ray crossing one of the pixels, say pixel ij. For each point of the cloud, its screen space coordinates can be calculated via perspective projection. From all points, we select those which project to the pixel ij and attach them to the ray. This creates a split of all points into groups, each group corresponding to some ray. The points attached to the sample ray are highlighted in the slide, and they are all closer to this ray than to the others. Similarly to NPBG, we equip each of the points with a multidimensional vector which we call a descriptor. Descriptors encode the properties of points, such as color, visibility, and others, and they are initialized randomly and later learned. We used 8-dimensional descriptors in our experiments. As opposed to NPBG, here we split 8-dimensional descriptor into a 7-dimensional pseudocolor and a scalar value of point transparency. The upper diagram on the slide depicts the process of ray accumulation, which we call a front-to-back alpha blending. We consider points attached to the ray in a front-to-back order. Starting from the first point, we sequentially apply under operator, quite well known in computer graphics for layered alpha blending. By processing the whole ray, we obtain the accumulated pseudocolor and transparency. A descriptor comprised of these two is put into the ij pixel of the image canvas. The calculated accumulated descriptor is shown purple in the upper picture. Similarly, the accumulation is performed for other rays, which results in filling in the pixels of an 8-channel raw image. In case no points are attached to some ray, a null descriptor is put into the respective pixel. Additionally, the same ray group in an accumulation is repeated for canvases with fewer pixels, half size, quarter size, and so on. This is how we obtain several auxiliary raw images. A set of raw images is fed to a rendering neural network of an architecture similar to UNet. This network outputs an RGB image of a scene as it would look when taken by a camera from the given viewpoint. The network can also output alpha channel, if the one is available in the ground truth. The system is fit for one seen by backpropagation of the loss to the render network weights and point descriptors. The loss function is based on VDG perceptual loss. Our experiments include the comparison on synthetic and real-world scenes. On this slide, the comparison on synthetically created aquarium is depicted. The images were rendered in Blender. The comparison on the right is shown for the two novel viewpoints. Compared to neural volumes and NERF, TRANSPR doesn't feature artifacts specific to each method. It also gives a better appearance than NPBG, which can use the point sparsity to its advantage. The superiority of TRANSPR is supported by the metrics reported in the paper. Please see the short video for an animated comparison. This experiment is based on a real-world scene with flowers in a vase. The point cloud for the object can be reconstructed using structure from motion, as shown above. Nevertheless, the scene is quite challenging because the vase is fully transparent and is almost not captured by structure from motion. To tackle that, we make a second sequence of photos with vase wrapped in a paper. Two point clouds are then geometrically aligned and we feed TRANSPR with a combined colorless point cloud, featuring both vase and flowers, and the set of images from the first sequence without paper wrapping as the ground truth. The results are shown on the slide. Apparently NERF has a scalability problem here and not all the details can be captured, and the rendering of the whole scene is blurry. Please see the short video for the animation and the paper for the metrics. This experiment is an example of transparency manipulation. Here we train TRANSPR to render two scenes, scarf and table. After training, the aligned point cloud is given to TRANSPR, which outputs the combined rendering. We can tweak the transparency's colors of the point descriptors by multiplying all of them by the same number. Here we selected a subset of points corresponding to the scarf and reduced their transparency. The real-world scene can be combined with a synthetic one. Here we render both jewelry captured by mobile camera and the smoke sampled from a voxel density field. As we can see on the right, TRANSPR handles this case as well, while for MPBG the smoke is pretty challenging. Please see the short video for the animation. This is a similar experiment that features the aloe plant. The results are shown on the right. Aloe is an example of an object that is very hard to represent using different formats, such as triangle mesh or voxel field, as it features a lot of tiny details. The example at the bottom of the slide shows that point cloud is a richer representation here. Please see the NPBG paper for the comparison of point-based and mesh-based rendering of this scene. In a similar setting, we can create a composition of smoke with drone footage. Please see the short video for comparison from various viewpoints. Our method can be employed in visual effects and other applications of neural rendering. Most often, creating accurate 3D models requires significant skill and time investment. Given that the point cloud for this method doesn't have to be precise, photogrammetry practitioners can benefit from TRANSPR by photorealistic rendering of scenes with complex geometry. The method can have failure cases, such as brightness flickering, though less observable than for NPBG, and excessive transparency or blurriness when the camera is too close to the object. The example of such effect is depicted on the slide. Thank you for your attention and please visit our project page.